Welcome back to the Razorback Nation's exclusive look into Arkansas coach Bret Bielema, from the hog farm to head hog. Now, growing up in tiny Prophetstown, Illinois, Bielema didn't have much trouble becoming the big athletic fish in a small pond. But that fish's choice to jump into a giant ocean is what truly defined his football career. To become Superman, Clark Kent would take off his glasses to don the uniform. But to become Brandon Burlsworth, one must put on the iconic frames to see through the eyes of the legend. Another sad Arkansas locker room here at the SEC tournament, because for the 5th straight year, the Hogs exit after just one game. The last one coming back in 2008, which is also the last time the Razorbacks played in a postseason tournament. At 19-13, they're left holding their breath for the NIT to call. Behind me is Dorial Greenbeckham, the #1 ranked prospect in the high school ranks today. A 6'6", 220-pound wide receiver. He will be making his college announcement in just a few minutes, live right here on our network. Why did Arkansas fit all the criteria you were looking for to make such a drastic change?
I think there was 3 things that really jumped out at first.
Coach Fry, one of Bret Bielema's strongest influences throughout his football career, and as you can see behind me, Coach Fry has an impressive coaching tree as there is in college football. Lately, the Diamond Hogs' hitting has been nauseating. 20 straight innings without scoring a run. Well, yesterday, Jacob Mahan personified that feeling. The Arkansas infielder spent most of the New Mexico doubleheader not at the plate, but in front of the porcelain bowl. A stomach bug caused Mahan to throw up at least 5 times during the games, but it didn't stop him from making an impact. Dave Van Horn called his number to pinch hit late in the second matchup. He came through with a game-winning walk-off single, giving a whole new meaning to the term puke and rally. The Arkansas pitching problems are a relatively recent dilemma, whereas the hitters have been seeking consistency almost all season. In an effort to get the offense on the tracks, the Diamond Hogs have adopted a new rally symbol.
Everyone wants to get on the base and be able to pull the horn.
You gotta pull the train, you gotta get it going.
It's an honor. I mean, it means you did something good.
The Arkansas baseball teams adopted a new theme in an effort to heat up the bats, and the Razorbacks are all aboard.
Coach Butler came up with everyone needs to hop on the train. Once we get the train moving, you can't stop a train.
If you get a hit, you're supposed to get on base, you pull the train.
It's a good concept. I think all of us enjoy it. We're taking it to the fullest and we're on board.
Coach Butler's the originator, but senior Tim Carver's the conductor.
There's this train station right around the corner from Bond Stadium. I stopped in there and they had a hat. He asked me if I wanted a whistle too, so I was like, yeah, I had it on.
Tim walked into the locker room with that hat on, like, oh, God, he's taking it to the extreme.
The hit train reached full speed in the South Carolina series. The Diamond Hogs racked up 39 of them.
Once the train starts, it doesn't stop very easily.
The bigger the hit, the more fun it is.
It's just carried on and everyone wants to be on that train.
Sometimes we forget sports are just games. The results rarely have actual dire implications. But for former Hog Matt Marshall, football truly meant life or death. Growing up in a crime-ridden town, Marshall's love for the sport kept him on the right path, which eventually brought him here to Arkansas.
I got to play the game that saved my life. It's a cool testimony. I'm like in love with the game. It's crazy.
Former Razorback Matt Marshall's athletic ability pulled him out of one of the most dangerous cities in America, Camden, New Jersey. He spent his childhood surrounded by gangs, violence, and drugs.
Seeing people struggle, learning things really fast and the hard way most of the time. It was a really motivating situation. Camden definitely prepared me for the world. At
12 years old, he witnessed an older friend and mentor get gunned down in the street.
Pulls up and shoots him 3 times in his face. Something I haven't spoken about in a long time, but it definitely drove me because I grew up really fast that day. And to be honest with you, it could have took me down a different path.
Rather than seek revenge, the experience hardened Marshall in his resolve to rise above.
I benefit from this situation because I feel like now nobody can almost break me down, you know? Nobody can lead better than me. Nobody can overcome things better than me because I felt like I saw everything.
As Marshall grew up, that edge fueled his fire on the football field.
I learned how to harness it. I haven't been necessarily scared to hit anybody because they need to feel my pain. They need to feel all of this.
He originally planned to attend Iowa before Bobby Petrino and Arkansas showed interest in the 11th hour of recruiting. A visit to Fayetteville sealed his decision.
I came out here and I never saw anything like this. Everybody's respectful, everybody's happy. My life really became easier. Like, life has become easier here.
Marshall spent 5 seasons as a Razorback. He made only 18 tackles in his career, but sharing his life experiences made an incalculable impact on his teammates.
He's a guy that you could look to for guidance. You know, he was like an older brother.
You can see the maturity in him. You can see him really trying to reach out to younger guys.
He's taken what he's learned in Camden, brought it here, and it's really blossomed into a man.
That's what it's all about, man. Just giving somebody the opportunity to learn and allowing them to give you the opportunity to teach them.
Now graduated with a degree in childhood development, Marshall wants to keep paying it forward. In his post-football life, he plans to work with young athletes, spreading his message of perseverance.
It's not even a pride thing. It's not even a pride thing. I just want somebody to see what I did and understand that they can do it too.
Marshall recently had an NFL tryout with the Philadelphia Eagles and has a few more on his schedule, but if pro football doesn't pan out, he says he's ready to begin the next chapter of his life. Welcome back to the Razorback Nation's exclusive look into Arkansas coach Bret Bielema, from the hog farm to head hog. Now, growing up in tiny Prophetstown, Illinois, Bielema didn't have much trouble becoming the big athletic fish in a small pond, but that fish's choice to jump into a giant ocean is what truly defined his football career.
My first organized sporting event was the Prophetstown Piranhas. It was a high school, it was a local swim team.
Long before starring on the football field, Bret Bielema became well known as an athlete in Prophetstown.
I can remember way back in elementary school, me and him were always the first 2 people picked for gym class. And that changed pretty quickly, where I wasn't the first pick anymore, and he became he was always a really athletic kid, big kid, obviously, as a younger guy.
Bielema tried his hand at baseball and basketball, but only one other sport captivated him outside of the gridiron.
I also enjoyed wrestling quite a bit. I loved the individuality of it and being able to compete with somebody on the mat. My last year, I was undefeated until I went to sectionals. I think I was like 27-1, and I lost to the eventual state champion.
Hey, at least you lost to the champ. He probably tells everybody, I beat Bret Bielema.
Yeah. I bump into some of those guys once in a while. A lot more guys, I think they beat me than they did.
Revisionist history.
Yeah, selective memory. First coach who really captivated my mind was our wrestling coach, Kai Tagami, who actually, ironically, lives in Fayetteville now. He was a guy that was very, very hard on character, on doing things right, on values, teamwork, chemistry.
Those are things that carry on beyond just that season in life. And some will pick up on that and others may not, but Bret was one who, that was his personality as well. That was his essence, is that you got to have some character, standards, values, ethics that you believe in, that you're not going to go left or right on, that you're going to follow that.
He really had a huge impact on me as a person. Huge, 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 huge.
Although he enjoyed success in wrestling, Bielema's heart lied in football.
Prophetstown Prophets, we ran through a little, we'd run through that goalpost, there'd be the cheerleaders would make the big sign that you had to break through every game.
He bounced around multiple positions before finding his home between the lines.
I really enjoyed defense. I enjoyed, you know, what I didn't know at the time was a lot of times people would lean on me about, Bret, what's coming, what's the play, and I kind of knew things that were going on around me before everybody else did, and it really helped me play faster than everybody, and I guess that's probably the first indication now that I think back about it that I really enjoyed the X's and O's side of it.
What'd you learn on this field that you still think about, you still use?
I think obviously the way you play the game. It doesn't take a lot of talent or a lot of ability to play hard and play physical, and I definitely was taught how to do that.
Bielema earned all-conference and all-region recognition, but the big schools weren't beating down his door.
Well, I had a lot of Division III schools at that time. There was a school, Augustana College in Rock Island, Illinois, that was winning championship after national championship after national championship, and Coach Reed was the head coach there at that time, and I almost really went there. He came and saw me at school, and it was kind of a badge of honor. That was a program that was winning and doing a lot of really good things on Division III level. Drew interest from like some 1AAs and lower level Division Division I, and I had gone to summer camp at the University of Iowa for 3 years in a row and gotten to know those coaches pretty good. And that's when a phone call came from Carl Jackson, who said that we'd love to have the opportunity to have you walk on and be a part of the program at Iowa. And it didn't take me long to decide that's what I was going to do. My dad gave me a quote that said, it's better to play in excellence than excel in mediocrity.
When I think of Bret Bielema, I think of one of the toughest, hard-charging football players I ever had at the University of Iowa.
One ref always said to my dad that I'd be the first guy to knock someone in their ass, but I'd always pick them up. I kind of liked it.
He walked up to me during practice and said, Coach Fry said, I'd like to play for the Iowa Hawkeyes. And I looked at him, I said, what position do you play? He said, I'm a defensive lineman. I said, how much do you weigh? Oh, about 185. I said, son, you're too small to play Big Ten football defense. He got this big look on his face and he said, just give me a uniform and I'll show you. And I got the manager to give him a uniform, and 2 weeks later I gave him a scholarship.
We had an early season conditioning test, and I basically outperformed everybody in my position group and kind of stood out right away and had some people, give me one of those, hey, who's this guy? Because nobody knew anything about me. I was that Bielema kid, bulimia. I was every eating disorder known to man. And then when we started practicing, I remember I just probably went a little bit harder, went a little bit longer.
The first couple of scrimmages we had, he was just outstanding. He's had what I call, he had a motor and is going full speed all the time.
We had an offensive lineman by the name of Bob Crash who ended up being a first-round pick, and every day after practice he would come and grab me and ask me to work extra, like a half an hour extra, and he wouldn't ask anybody else. And here he was probably the best player on our team, and he was grabbing me to work pass rush against him, not because I was great, I think just because I went harder than everybody else.
Bret was inspirational. He helped our offensive players become a lot better because he'd beat them in practice after everybody else had gone in to take a shower.
It was a badge of honor, no doubt. I definitely remember, like in the locker room afterwards, everybody's like, what do you do? What do you want you for? And I'm like, well, he just wanted me to go pass rush against him. And that kind of made a statement to me. And then as coaches began to, that didn't know my name, all of a sudden started coming up and talking to me and speaking to me about what I could do, I think that made a huge statement to me.
The one-time walk-on became a stalwart on the Hawkeye defense. Before his senior season, the team voted Bielema one of 2 captains.
I think it says an awful lot about what kind of person he is, because he wasn't a defensive captain because he was a stellar athlete. He was a defensive captain because of how hard he worked and how he practiced and what he did every day and how he treated his teammates. I remember talking to his teammates at Iowa, and they just said how much they loved playing with him.
I always knew I wanted to be the guy that played the hardest. There was no doubt there. That doesn't take effort, that doesn't take skill, that just takes want to.
And I would imagine that's something you try and teach your players
big time
today.
Big time.
In Bret's mind, Bret Bielema thinks that he's the best. And that's where it all starts. It's a mental approach. And when you have that type of attitude, then you work your tail off to make it happen.
I've heard it said about him before that whatever it is, he has it, and I actually believe that. He's got an aura about him. He's got a persona about him that people seem to draw themselves to.
A magnetic personality showing early signs of a potential coaching career, and that's exactly where we're headed next in the Head Hog Special.
He always had an idea, and most of them were real good, but when you're that young, you have to have experience.
Shortly after his collegiate career ended, Bret Bielema became one of the youngest assistant coaches in Division I football. Stick around.